This is the fabric I'll be using for this. In my previous video, I made the high-low shirt. In this video, we are going to be making the trouser pattern. So if this is what you like to learn, make sure not to skip any part of this video. I use for the whole of the top and the trouser 4 years, and this is a crepe fabric. You can use satin, you can use Duchess for this, but this is a printed crepe fabric. So let's start with the tutorial. I'll be drafting on my pattern paper. So first thing I'm going to get is the length of the pant trouser. I have 41 inches. I'm going to mark it here. From here I'm going to mark my hip line, and also from there I'm going to mark hip waist to crotch depth. Also from there we'll mark waist to knee line, and then the final waist to the floor. So I'll go ahead and square these lines out. Let me run you through the lines I have marked here. So this line is the waistline, this is the hip line, the crotch line, the knee line, and then the final length of the trouser. So now on the hip line and the waistline, I'm going to get the hips divided by 4, and I'll mark it here. Mine is 12 inches, so I'll mark it here and also square it down to the crotch depth. So I'll go ahead and square this line, both on the crotch, the hip line, and the waistline. Next, I'm going to go ahead and make the trouser extension. So from that line, I'm going to come out 3 inches. You can make yours 2.5 inches if you're on the medium size. I'll add sewing allowance to that. Next, from this center line, I'm going to come in 1/2 inch and mark it here. Then I'm going to connect this line to the hip line. Then I'm going to make the crotch curve like this with my curve ruler. To shape the trouser leg, I'm going to divide whatever I have from here to here into 2. I'll mark it here, and I'm going to extend that down and up. So I'll make a straight line here. This line is also known as the ghetto line. So this is how to get the ghetto line. So now on the waistline, I'm going to make the waist divided by 4 and mark it, and also connect that to the hip line like this. We'll come back to the trouser leg shaping. First of all, let me mark the waistline. Then going back to the knee line, I'm going to get from that center line, I'm going to mark 6 inches on both sides, both on the hemline. So I'm going to mark it. If you want yours to be wider, you can go ahead and increase that, but I want mine to be 6 inches, so I'm going to mark 6 inches on both sides of the trouser leg. So I'll go ahead and connect this like this to the hip line. Just watch the way I'm connecting it to the hip line. So with this, the front trouser is ready. I'll go ahead and cut out this pattern. Then we're going to go over to cut the back. You can see how simple it is. I've not added any sewing allowance, so you add your sewing allowance when you're sewing it. So this is for the front. For the back, I'll do the same thing I did for the front. I'm going to go ahead and get the hip line. This is the waistline, the hip line, the crotch area, the knee line, and also the length of the trouser. So I'll go ahead and square these lines out, just the same thing we did for the front. And then also for the circumference of the trouser, I'm going to get the hips divided by 4, and I'm going to square it from the crotch depth to the waistline. So square it out like this. So next, at the center back, I'm going to go up by 2.5 inches. I'll go ahead and square this up, and then from here I'm going to connect this towards the side seam. So you go ahead and mark your waist divided by 4 and connect it like this. From there, you're going to also make the crotch extension. So whatever you have for the front, you're going to make 2 times whatever you have for the front. Then I'm going to mark that here. So from there, I'm going to connect this to this line here. Use your curve ruler to do this, or you can also use your hand. Anyone is okay by you, but make sure you don't go off too much. So I'm going to just go ahead and connect this like this. Next, I'm going to also do the same leg shaping. From here, whatever I have, I'm going to divide that by 2. So I'm going to square it up to the waistline and down to the hemline. So for the back, towards the side seam, I'm going to mark 6 inches. Also the same thing at the hemline. And then the inside leg is going to be different from this. First, I'm going to connect this straight as you're seeing me do. And then I'm going to also connect this to the waistline like this. Then towards the inside leg, I'm going to make that 7 inches. The other one was 6 inches, but this time around this is 7 inches. I'm going to also do the same thing at the hemline and then connect these straight. I'll also make a curve here, but first of all, I'm going to use my straight ruler to get the guide. So I'm just going to go in like this with 1.25 and connect that like that. So this is ready. I'll go ahead and cut this out. Remember, I haven't added any sewing allowance to this. So when I'm going to be cutting this on the fabric, I'm going to go ahead and add sewing allowance to that. So this is the back and this is the front. So this is where I'll be stopping today's tutorial. This is just pattern drafting tutorial. I'll see you guys in my next video.